It's the stream is frozen though.
Change something. See what happens.
Cool. I'm gonna at the end of this I'm gonna be so fucking sweaty, dude.
And then we're gonna.
And then we're going to a show, in which I'm gonna be dressed up as this.
You're going to this tonight?
No, I'm not. I'm not gonna go like that. They want me to because it's a costume party, and they actually posted me in the outfit.
Wait, for real?
On their story.
Emmy texted me asking was this a costume party. I told her no.
It is a costume show. If she wants to dress up, then let's go.
Okay.
But at the same time, I feel like
Let's get.
we got it.
Yeah, we're live. So.
All right.
We're live.
We're live.
Are we live?
All right, we talked about everything. It's done.
Yeah, we're done.
We're completely done.
We're
There's
done.
nothing else to talk about. So you have this new What inspired this new configuration?
Wait, hold on.
bad
Before we
shows.
get into any of this.
Oh yeah.
Hi.
Who's here?
Hi. I'm Jeff. This is Tim. And this is Deluxe. Sean of Deluxe.
Hey.
What's good, dude?
Nothing much. Just made it out here on the 101.
Yeah, man. How's the drive?
Terrible as usual.
Wait,
But I
where are you
expected.
coming from?
I live in like Thai-town, Hollywood area.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's not far at all, dude.
It's not, but the
traffic.
The traffic was
is
that
insane,
bad?
dude.
So
Oh,
you
it's
know-
that bad. Yeah.
You know how this is how we start off a podcast with people that live in LA. It's
Yeah.
like, let's talk about the freeways.
Oh,
and
yeah, we
traffic.
should. Let's not talk about the freeway. Let's talk about Thai Town, dude. Thai Town's the best. I used to
Dude,
live
Thai
there.
Town has been. So I actually found out that they have like a night market on Sunday nights. I think it is. It's just a bunch of grandmas in a parking lot.
Yeah. I think I've heard. I actually have never been,
Oh,
but
hey,
I've heard
yo,
about it.
he's like biting your jacket.
Hey, get
Hey,
away
Tony,
from
Tony,
me.
hey, come here, Tony,
Oh
come
my
here.
god, dude. Oh, this
my
is
God.
Antonio Banderas.
This is okay.
Yeah, or you might know him as Puss in Boots or the dad in Spy Kids.
But yeah, Thai Town's cool. It's just crazy busy. I mean, if you want to drive 4 miles in any direction, it takes 20 minutes, 30 minutes.
Especially, especially after
Yeah.
6 p.m.
Yeah, I mean, like at 9, everything's chill. You know.
I used
9
to
after-
live right there.
Yeah.
I like I'm trying to remember if I had that kind of experience because I used to live on Santa Monica and Western.
That's exactly basically where I am.
Oh really?
Yeah, I'm
What
like
street are
in
you?
Normandy and Santa Monica.
I lived on Oxford Street.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Which
were
is
right
a-
behind
Yeah.
Dave's Hot Chicken.
The first Dave's Hot Chicken.
First Dave's.
Before Drake bought it out.
Oh shit.
Does Drake own Dave's?
Drake, I think Drake's a shareholder of Dave Hot's Chicken.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a shareholder. I
Shout
mean,
out to Drake.
Rick Ross is a shareholder in
Yeah.
Hot Wings.
Is he? What? The
No,
show?
I'm not Hot Wings. I'm sorry. Wingstop. Sorry.
I thought it was pears, man. That guy loves pears.
Does he love pears?
Have you not seen that video where he's like all skinny as shit and he's just like, I love pears. he's just like, how'd you do it? I love pears.
I love pears. I mean, pears are good.
Are they?
I'd say they're like a B, like they're an A tier fruit, not S tier, but A tier.
Yeah, they're a little weird. The texture's kind of strange.
Yeah, that's my
But they're
whole
good. They're
I
tasty.
feel like so I used to like pears when they were super firm and hard, but like now as I've gotten older, like slightly softer.
Mhm.
A good
Yeah.
pear is it's nice.
Yeah. It's like if a fruit was a mashed potato. You know.
Yeah.
Kind of like that.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's I don't know why it just turns me off to like not eat pears ever. Well, granted, I'm allergic to
But
fruit.
Oh,
you're
shit.
allergic to fruit?
Yeah,
Jesus.
you know that.
Yeah, I know. I forget that I blanked on that one.
Yeah, I was like, I'm allergic to apples and grapes and
Dude, but what is it about fruit
Oh,
that you're
damn.
allergic to?
tannins.
I have no idea what that means.
Tannins is an agent
But wait,
process
no.
that
But
fruits
you
go
can eat.
through.
You can eat like
Okay.
oranges.
Yeah, I can.
Like
Oranges,
citrus
lemons,
is
anything
fine.
citrus is cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, okay.
But
So
yeah,
I don't know what tannins specifically are, but I know it prevents him from drinking wine, which is a goddamn shame.
No,
Oh.
man, I was never a wine guy.
I know, but that's sad that you're not a wine guy because wine is great.
No, man.
wine is good. I don't know.
I think.
You know, I don't drink, but I've had, I'll take sips here and there when people are like, I want you to drink this. I'm like, I'll try it. I just don't
Well,
like
you said you
alcohol.
don't
It's just not my
drink.
thing.
You-
Yeah.
Oh. Did you ask for a beer before that?
No, I asked for water.
Oh,
No, I was like, wait, what? He literally
Well,
says
wait.
like,
idiot. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why I got you a beer, and I was like,
I was
oh.
like-
no, I didn't.
was
I didn't.
like,
I didn't
is this like
understand
some
that either.
Fiji
I was
water?
like,
Did you wanna?
No, I'm chilling, dude. Yeah, I'm good.
yeah, this is for you.
But it'll, it can sit there.
Okay. Okay.
This is not a
but you
beer. This
take-
is
no,
water.
No,
that
that's
looks like a
water.
beer.
Liquid Death is
This is
water.
water.
Oh, okay, that's the water.
That's
yeah,
the
yeah.
water.
Hey, take the beer off.
Well, I might as
Yeah,
well
we'll
drink it.
take it off. I can't even have the beer, so Tim, this is why you
I do not want a beer.
But yeah, wine is something I can like be like, ooh.
I feel like wine though was one of those things that like. So my parents like to drink wine, which is how I guess got into wine. But it's just like, hey, you should try this this piece of steak with wine, and it'll change the flavor profile. I was like, there's no.
What other
shot.
ways can you
Right.
get into wine without parents? Really?
Dude, so when I was traveling through Scotland, there's a wine called Buckfast, which is it's I want to say it's like 16. It's 20% alcohol. It's just a way for people to get fucked up really quickly. I guess it's like a Trappist thing. Like monks drink Buckfast wine. I think that's the story. I don't quote me on that one.
Okay.
But
Quote him, folks, please.
it's like a wine that's, and I had it when I was in Scotland, and I was like, this is awful, but I can understand like young kids who are like 12, 13 years old who are like starting to drink with their friends, whatever. This is the thing that they are gonna just
Right.
If,
Yeah.
they don't
because
wanna
if
go
you,
with the vodka thing.
you want to drink something that fucks you up quick.
Yeah,
When you're
exactly.
young.
I mean,
And I don't drink, and I know that.
Honestly, the first drink I ever had was a wine cooler.
wine cooler.
It was a wine cooler, yeah.
How old were you? Wine coolers existed back then.
I don't want to say details of how old I was.
Okay. Oh right.
I was young.
Right. What if you're gonna say that?
I was a baby.
Hey, Tony.
But I honestly gotta say I'm really disappointed in both of you.
Okay.
You know, we're celebrating a Halloween show on Saturday.
That's true.
Deluxe is headlining Office Drummer first debut kind of live performance. Tiger State's from ALSA, this 10-piece band's first show in the U.S. as well. And I'm very disappointed that I'm the only one wearing a costume right now.
Well, you know how much I hate Halloween. Like Halloween's is not my thing. I don't particularly enjoy it.
Dude, you're the biggest wet blanket I know.
I'm in between you guys, which I am physically too. But yeah, I'm like I don't care about Halloween, but if I'm gonna get dressed up, then I'll go for it.
Right. Yeah.
So
I think I'm going as just like a nudist on strike for most of Halloween weekend.
yeah.
I choose not. I don't know.
Well,
A nudist on strike? That's just wow. That's a
I went
that's
to
a
like
very
this
clever
Halloween party last weekend, and
Last weekend.
yeah, it was like a
So
week
can
before
you?
Halloween.
Are you
party.
allowed to throw Halloween parties just all throughout October? Like that's.
Well, that's what it's becoming, honestly. Like,
I mean,
Because I feel like
any way someone has an excuse to throw a party, they're gonna do it.
right. Cause
but no. Go back to the party last week.
Okay, so yeah, the party
Sorry.
last weekend. Yeah, I mean, I dressed up. I had a costume because I had a costume ready for the show this Saturday, so I had it on me. But also, it was like cold, and
Right.
and I got to that point where I've been through enough Halloweens that I don't give a shit if a coat bothers my costume. You know,
Right. Yeah.
like I don't need to go through that anymore. You know? It's like someone's gonna bug me
Well,
socially about
What
Halloween
were
costume.
you, dude? What
Yeah,
was
was I?
Yeah, what were you?
What was
Well, I was
costume?
Mario.
You were Mario.
Yeah,
Yeah, Mario doesn't wear a jacket.
he doesn't.
He can.
He could.
I've seen him wear jackets before.
Yeah.
You could look it up. He's worn jackets. There's so many different versions of Mario, but
Yeah.
but yeah. So you're Mario with a jacket.
With a jacket and no mustache because I want to save the glue of the mustache for the show.
Just
I don't
why
want
no
that
mustache?
thing burnt out.
That's
you know?
really funny. It's like you're like literally the Chris Pratt's Mario.
I am. Yeah.
Did you hear about that?
Oh
saw-
yeah, I
I-
heard
yeah.
about that.
When if people who don't know, when Chris Pratt got the Mario gig, people were asking him, "Are you gonna do the Italian accent?" And he said, "No, I'm gonna be normal." He literally said, "No, I'm gonna be normal." I was like, "What?" No.
Well,
I get it. I'm gonna be me. I understand that.
I
I'm
mean, I
gonna be
get
me.
it, but
But like,
I think he should have just said, "No, I forfeit my role, and I'm gonna give it to the original voice." That's what he should have said.
He probably could have worded that a little bit better.
Yeah.
Yeah, normal.
Like there are some of those dudes in there that were like Jack Black as Bowser. That's not bad.
No.
It's not
Oh.
bad.
Not a bad
Charlie
choice.
Day is Luigi.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah. Pretty good.
But you would think like you would have a little bit of just like the Italian flavor when it comes to Mario because that's what
Yeah.
he's known for.
Yeah. I mean, I
Like-
get
like,
it.
What
like,
is the homage to the? What is the homage to like the original character?
Well, if we're sitting in a room with a bunch of like corporate dudes talking about this movie,
Mm-hmm.
we're gonna be like, well, we don't care about those people who care about. We just care about kids, and so
Right.
kids aren't gonna care,
Mm.
you know.
No, I think it's so funny
Hey.
that like,
Tony.
sorry, Tone's very like, this is a very
Very
strong
vocal.
Okay, I'll pet him.
subject for him. No, I think that's we get it.
Tony.
He's like, American Mario is where it needs to be. No, I think that was so funny that that was like honestly the first Italian I could think of at the top of my head that I ever heard about.
The first Italian?
Yeah, was Mario as a kid.
Huh.
The first Italian I could think of
Not
was
Al
Mario.
Capone?
What?
Al Capone?
As a little kid, as like an 8-year-old kid, I want to be like Al
I
Capone.
feel like I didn't even perceive Mario as anything. I was just like, that's just some weird ass character.
I guess
Just
I
the
didn't
accent,
you
think
know?
Mario was like an Italian character. He was just like
Yeah.
the red guy jumping in.
Yeah, he's just Mario. Like
No.
that's distinctly him.
No, of course.
But yeah, of course, like it stemmed from.
Actually, I feel like the first time I ever saw Mario was actually on my Game Boy,
Mm-hmm.
like the original Game Boy
Yeah,
when he was
yeah.
Dr. Mario. It was like essentially Tetris.
Oh yeah,
You remember that game?
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
was,
like
yeah.
I played on like the original Game Boy and then Game Boy Color or whatever.
What is
What are you doing?
This dog's
dude?
all over me, dude.
Tony?
Like for
He
real.
wants to play.
I know he really wants to just
Can we
stick
put,
around.
Can we put him away?
I could put him in the other room. I can.
Just give him.
Why don't you just bark more then?
No, he won't. He won't
Yeah,
do that.
put him-
You know what? Just let's give him
give
like
him a
half a
sec.
second,
Yeah.
and like he's really into that arm.
Yeah, he likes my arm.
That's a hot arm.
Thank you.
It is.
No, it's a hot arm. You know, I don't want to be one of those parents that like overly defends their kid, but
Mhm.
I'm definitely doing it right now.
Hey,
All right, I'm
Tony.
gonna
All
get
right.
up. You guys are gonna see this costume in full. This is it. This is Tony.
Sorry,
I'm
Tony.
I'm just gonna hold him.
Just gonna hold him.
All right.
He just gives up. Hi, bub. No, but now thinking about it, truly thinking about it, I like think Mario is what introduced me to Italian people.
Not like Olive Garden.
No, it was
You knew
as a
about
young
food.
kid, like
You
the
knew.
first.
Definitely food for me.
Well, no,
yeah.
food. Well, pizza for sure, but like
Mhm.
I didn't know like the kind of accents and all that stuff. Like this, like you know, like I just didn't know like that type of conversation as like a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
You know, but then yeah, pizza's legit and like everything's great.
Pizza's legit.
You know, pizza's legit.
Pizza's.
Yeah.
Pizza's legit. Italian culture is amazing. I make pasta every day. But yeah, it's just one of those like weird things that you don't really think about, where you're like, oh, that was like the introduction to like this culture.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, what's like the weirdest like introduction to a culture that you have where you don't really think about, or like you don't think about it much,
Like the introduction of it.
or just like it's like something you don't like. For example, with me, it's like Italian people. It's Mario for me.
Right.
Or wait, hold on. Are you from LA?
Yeah. So I grew up in Glendale. So
Okay.
Oh hell yeah!
there's a huge culture of Armenians.
Yes.
And so that's an interesting thing for me, because like growing up, when I was in elementary schools, like I had a bunch of Armenian friends, and
Talk about VTech.
yeah, yeah, exactly. but yeah, I mean that's a pretty interesting culture to be around, especially like Glendale is like, you know, a lot of guys in that culture, like there's definitely like a macho thing going on, and so like driving around in Glendale, it's like notorious for accidents and all sorts of things. So.
Showing off.
Hell
you
yeah,
got your
pretty
VTEC.
much. Yeah.
You gotta rev your car.
Well,
Yeah,
it's funny. We grew up right next to Glendale. I actually played for the Glendale basketball team growing up, but we grew up in La Cañada. And it's so funny. Honestly, one of the first introductions to like Deluxe and all that was seeing you skate the Glendale High School.
Oh yeah.
And like it just brought me back to us growing up. Like we went to La Cañada where we got this like a legendary 11 stair where like Andrew Reynolds and like the whole Baker crew would just like go ham on. But yeah, it was like what got into skating and like what's something that like where the Baker, like I remember when Baker 3 came out, it just like changed everything.
Yeah. I mean, I was around I was skating around that time, and when like Right came out, and I was pretty into those videos at the time, and then I don't know, sometime after high school, I just completely dropped out of that whole world. Like I wasn't skating as much. I basically didn't see or keep up with skate culture for like almost 10 years.
Whoa.
Yeah, and I didn't realize there was all these competitions and all these new videos and all this stuff going on, and then finally like I picked up skating again like 3 years ago, and so now I'm like all into it again.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
That's so sick. Honestly, that's something that I would love to just get back into.
It's fun. It's addicting.
No, of course, but hold on. We actually have a special guest that's here. He's sitting on the other couch. Tom, you want to come in?
Hey, Jeff, put Tony on.
Yo, Tony.
Tony!
I get it. You're excited about the special guest.
Another special guest.
Another special guest. Everyone, this is Tom. Hold on. Let's go, dude.
What's your name? Tim.
Hold on,
Sean.
Everyone's
Tony.
So where you come from?
Hollywood.
Oh, okay.
Did you take the 101?
I took the 101. It's something we can all bond about at least.
Oh yeah.
Just how
of course.
shit the traffic is. Yeah.
But no, we get it. We're from LA. Let's not talk about it.
Exactly. Okay.
Do you need a water or beer or something?
I'll take water, yeah. Thank you, bro. Where in Hollywood?
I'm in like Thai Town area.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. What about you?
I literally like just said like El Centro, right in the
Okay.
in the heart, yeah. We just moved
yeah.
there. I had like a house, it's a semi-housing crisis, and me and my roommate were just like looking for an apartment in October, which is never easy.
Yeah.
So then we settled on Hollywood. We've been on the west side our whole lives. So
Oh shit.
Nice.
Okay.
It's crazy. I thought you were gonna live in Topanga.
I know, it all fell through.
It did.
A
Well,
lot
I
of
can
people
tell
are
you
moving
more.
out there.
I used to live out there.
Oh yeah.
It's a wild culture there. It's like
crazy. Yeah.
it's so weird. So for people that don't know Topanga, the catchphrase of Topanga is "This is where hippies go to die." It's like very wealthy hippies, like a bunch of like Neil Young started the movement, and where he left Canada and moved to Topanga, and it brought a bunch of artists from Brian Wilson to 311
Wasn't
to
there a
9
lot
Inch
of-
Nails.
Wasn't there a lot of like the that Geffen Records era? of
Well, Laurel
musician?
Canyon
Yeah,
is
Lo-
right
oh,
there.
Laurel
It's
Canyon,
like right there.
Right.
So it's like that, but it's like a little more secluded, and it's so random, dude. Like when I lived there, like you know how like most places have block parties. The block party that I went to, I was the youngest person there, and I was definitely the most together person there. Like there were like people that were 65, like skinny dipping in the pool. There's jambalaya everywhere.
Jambalaya?
They made jambalaya. They're like really wealthy hippies,
Yeah.
and they have like this giant pot of jambalaya, which I thought was so strange. And then you just see people taking solar bong hits, which if you don't know what a solar bong hit is, it's when you use a magnifying glass, use the sun to light your bong.
It's healthier that way.
And it was the strangest, and it got even weirder because you see like Brian Wilson and members of 9 Inch Nails just like jamming out together to the point where I'm like, oh my god, no one's gonna believe this. Like, I called all my friends and be like, dude, you have to come to this. Like, please, like someone like validate me, like kind of give me that validation that like this happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But Topanga's wild, and they always have these like kind of like random like kind of like living situations there. Like I know you were gonna live in a geodome for a
Yeah,
second.
we were like, it was gonna be like this backyard. We were gonna build these domes with like the red tape. There was a lot of kind of moving parts, and like with a situation like that, you have to have everything like perfectly in harmony. And we just like quickly realized that it was like gonna be too long of a process, and our living situation was not gonna quite work. So move here like one day maybe, but for the time being right now, it just was gonna be too much of a project. But you're so right. Like I didn't even realize that, but the younger you are there, the more put together. Now that you
No,
say
it's so because everyone there, it's like a whole other culture there. It's
you
just
spend
like,
more time the older you get.
well, LA's so strange, you know, and like that's going back to Glendale and like your experience with Armenian culture. Who, I guess, like, is there any Armenian icon that you've heard of because you've been in this ecosystem for so long that you kind of idolize? It doesn't have to be like kind of something profound. It could be as simple as like one of the restaurant owners or like something like that.
Well, I mean, the big one for most Armenian culture is System of a Down. I mean,
That was
the obvious one.
That was such a
Yeah,
tee
yeah.
up.
Well, that's
but,
like
but I
yeah.
mean, you know, if I'm gonna talk about just like restaurant owners, I mean, there's a spot that we go to. It's like this Mexican food spot, and it's called El Sal's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's the spot. That's like
Well,
kind of
yeah.
like,
What's the spot like? Just for people who don't know it.
I mean, the thing is, like, they're not Armenian, but it is in Glendale.
Yeah.
A lot of Armenians go there. It's like their spot as well. It's just kind of like, it's just a known thing. But that spot is just known for their asada being like ridiculously good. Like it's very different from a lot of other spots you go to. Like I haven't tasted anything that matches that. Like El Pastor, there's like a bunch of other places like you can get really good El Pastor. That's not really their thing, I would say, but their like asada is insane.
In the mix.
But
100%.
yeah, I mean, and then like I think there's a kebab spot. I forget
Dude, the
which-
kebab.
Yeah.
There's several kebab spots there that just
Yeah.
blow my mind.
Yeah.
And I've definitely had that taco spot. But speaking of El Pastor, we're in Boyle Heights. This is the best street for tacos. Like period. Like if you want the best El Pastor, you go a mile down. I don't even know the name of the spot. I don't even think it has a name. But it's right in front of Ramirez. Like that spot is so legit. But back even further, System of Down. It kind of goes back to the question of like, what's a culture you didn't really know about? Like my version was Mario, your version is System of the Down, introducing you to Armenian culture.
Yeah.
That's so wild. Like, what's your favorite System song?
Well, I mean, honestly, I didn't really listen to them that much. I wasn't in that. That wasn't my world. I knew them. I mean, I knew like Chop Suey. I knew all those like hits or whatever. But like, it wasn't my thing, you know. But there was a ton of other people's things in high school for sure, and yeah. I mean.
Well, what music growing up were like? Honestly, listening to your record, you know, it's like I hear so many like late 70s, early 80s influence. Obviously, like even some Rufus Wainwright I hear mixed with like obviously Talking Heads, you know, and then the kind of like LCD kind of Bowie influence stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Is that stuff that you were listening to, or were you kind of like?
High school, I was more like listening to like modern indie stuff, like Wolf Parade, Arcade Fire.
British Sea Power.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of the Clash, if I was gonna go backwards, but it was like, and then there was like other bands that like today are like just not present anymore, like Islands or Spinto Band. I don't know if you heard them.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a lot of those bands. Yeah, and then like kind of end of high school, after high school is kind of like I was getting into like, okay, let's go backwards and see what's going on over there. Like I've always heard about Bowie. Let's really dig into Bowie.
Yeah.
You know, Talking Heads, obviously. I also, well, it's funny because Kate Bush, I listened to Hounds of Love when I was 13, and I like loved that record. But it was also a kind of a guilty pleasure record for me because it was 2003, and so people were very into guitars, indie rock type of shit, and and it was like I would be listening to this, and people would be like, "That sounds really cheesy," you know, like, and I would kind of be like, I didn't want to tell anyone I listened to Kate Bush. It was kind of like this guilty thing.
Meanwhile, meanwhile, like the
Yeah.
main thing was like Britney Spears, Backstreet
Yeah,
Boys,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
NSYNC was
And
like
you're like
dominating
guilty.
the
Your
airwaves.
guilty pleasure is Kate Bush.
Yeah. Well, it was like, it was like the Strokes,
Yeah.
Franz
Yeah, right,
Ferdinand,
right.
whatever, and like a lot of stuff like that. You know, I was 13, and so like, you know, when you hear like those 80s synths and those 80s snares coming in,
Right,
toms,
right.
it just immediately it goes in someone's mind, and they're just like,
Oh, my
"Ew."
parents listen to this.
Yeah, exactly, or something like that. But I loved it. I was just like always wanting to listen to it.
So how do you feel about this new Kate Bush revival post Stranger
I
Things?
think it's cool. I mean, I
Elephant in the
don't,
room.
you know, I'm not.
I've heard so many covers of Running Up That Hill
Yeah.
in the last
Have you-
6
dude,
months.
those screamo covers
There's-
just
there's
give me
so
so
much
much
fun.
vibes. Have you not seen those?
No,
like,
no.
oh my god, dude.
It's essentially like Pop Goes Punk, but like
Ah.
all
Yeah.
these like metalcore bands are like, well, how do we
It's-
jump on this train?
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
really
So
incredible.
that's also a fucking funny thing is that like, you know, in high school it was like, it was a group of friends who were all into like these indie bands and stuff, and we were basically the only indie band in high school playing indie music, and everyone was playing emo or metal.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like we were surrounded by that, and I think it's funny because like all that shit's sort of coming back, looping back around in
Yeah.
some sort of way.
What's that? There's that cycle.
Well,
like
no, it's every 10
20.
years. It's
Yeah,
every
yeah.
10 years. You know, it's so funny that like Turnstile is so big. Like seeing
Right.
them transition to what they are now is us growing up to AFI.
Right.
You know, my family's from the Bay, and Davey Havoc actually lived on the same street as my cousin. So like, I definitely had a scene phase where like I had a mohawk and everything.
Yeah,
but like
yeah.
to see them go hardcore and then actually make sense to everybody was so great. And I was just reliving that right now with Turnstile feels so sick.
Yeah.
And the fact that those bands can sell, I just love that. Like honestly, music with guitars are just coming back.
Oh, for sure.
In general, you know. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Which is really funny because like our music is like way less guitars.
I know. Like, literally, like, oh my god.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, you just put out a new record.
Yeah.
When did it come out?
It came out
I knew it was earlier this year.
like a month ago.
Okay.
Was it a month ago?
No, it was literally a month ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, which honestly, man, like it's so funny. It's I love when music is very deceiving, and when you hear the production, you're like it's a happy-go-lucky thing, but then you listen to the lyrics and it's very like morose and like sad, and like you
Right.
talk about love and like kind of like figuring that out. Like, what was the writing like? Was there a personal influence on that with like actual what was going on in your life, or was it kind of like was it more therapeutic, or was it like
Yeah, I mean, there was like a handful of different things. You know, I mean, like love is such like a, you know, cliche thing to talk about, but it's like what is in your life that makes it somewhat unique, or like try to find those little bits. But yeah, I mean, I was, you know, there's a mixture of that, of like being in some sort of, you know, fucked up toxic relationship or something, and then like heightening that through a song or something. There's like one of the songs, All This Time, that was one of like being in a relationship that was just so it was just hard to be around. And but it was like the lyrics are kind of playing with the relationship in a way. Like one of the lyrics was like, you know, like she used to order a Moscow Mule all the time, and it was just like this very drunk drink. And I think the lyric was here comes the Moscow Mule, the only drink that drowns in a pool.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of gives like this weird imagery and
I love
vibe of
it.
like what that was and what it was like. But yeah, I mean, there's things of like that nature, and there's also like my parents sold their house, my childhood home,
oh man.
and so that there's like a couple songs in there that riff off of that. Like
Okay.
like Time to Say Goodnight is basically about the last time I'm in the house and it's like all empty. And then New Summers is basically like the post effects of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, I have New Summers now. It's like completely different.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then there's like, you know, a random song I'm like near the end of the record that's like way slower, piano ballady.
You have two of those in there.
Yeah, two of them.
You
Yeah.
have two of those in there.
Yeah, Morning Misses Me is like the one that's like, you know, it's the late night one. Where like
Yeah.
it's that thing of just like you're never gonna wake up in the morning. You're just like always like waking up in the afternoon. You're creating at night, and you're just a night owl forever.
Yeah.
It seemed like this album was a bit of a departure from like your other 3 albums, right?
Yeah.
Because I feel like when I went back and listened to some of the older stuff, you had a lot. I mean, it was very much disco.
Yeah.
Pop disco.
Well,
I mean,
this record was disco as well, but it was.
But it was more. It almost had like post-punk influences.
A little bit, yeah. It's. I mean, this record's very mixed. Like it had like every. I like records that have like every song has its distinct feeling and emotion, and like it's like okay, you look at the song titles like oh that one, yeah that one. It's not like oh these 3 sound similar.
Right.
I'd like to do that, and if I can, because I really think that like you can do that and still bring consistency as long as the vocals tie it all in, really.
Right. I mean, because like when I remember when I started listening to the new record, your title track, They Call This Love.
Yeah.
Just that like opening synth or like chords.
Yeah.
It's very jarring compared to a lot of the stuff from.
Oh, for
from
sure.
And so I thought that was a really interesting way to open up the album too, and also it being your longest track too, which I thought was like, okay, that's interesting. That's not what I would have thought.
Well, that track just felt like a good opener to a record, because it's like a lot of people who listen to that tell me about like it sounds like a news.
Yeah, I was literally just
breaking
bring that up. It's like breaking news, and which the breaking news to this record is that you moved out of your childish home, and your heart's broken. Like what's love? Breaking news: life sucks.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then that whole song was like a fucking crazy thing to write because it's going in and out of different sections like the whole time, and like I think I have like 8 or 9 different versions of that song on my computer. It's just like all different variations of like going into different things. It was like crazy to.
Well, what kind of? I'm curious what the other ones sound like. I'm a
So
demo junkie.
When you play at our venue this Saturday, the 29th, which version are you gonna play?
We're gonna play the one on the record.
Okay.
We're sticking with it.
But what are some different variations of that song? I'm so curious. And like I love demos. I love hearing. And that's like kind of what we want to bring this podcast to turn into at some point, was to bring artists in before songs come out.
Oh,
be able to show different versions of that.
That'd be cool.
Which
yeah.
We couldn't do that for this. You just put it on the record. I can't
Yeah.
ask you like what's the next stuff sounded like. It's like
I brought my hard drive in my computer.
Dude, yeah, please just like press play.
Yeah. I mean, it first started out with like I think it was the chorus section. That's like there's like 3 choruses and they all sound different, but the middle one it started out as that kind of a stripped down version of that, and it was just like way poppier and more just like straight beat.
Yeah.
There was a point where I was like, okay, this is a little bit much, or I was like, I wanted to experiment. I wanted like a different intro. I wanted like a build, and that first minute and a half or 2 minutes, that whole build section is like I wrote that, and I had that intro for like 2 years, and I didn't really like finish the song. I never really like delved into it, but I had that and I had the other version, and I was like, I don't know which one to go with, because they were so different.
Yeah.
And I would show friends or whatever, and there's certain people I trust, certain people I don't. And I went with my cousin. He's like the person I trust, so he was just like, this one's way cooler, it's way more interesting, but at the end of the day, it's your choice,
No,
you trust them if they say the right thing that you want to hear.
Exactly. Oh yeah,
Dude,
for sure.
I knew I trusted
Well, that's
you
the thing. Is like,
time.
yeah. Well, so me and my friend Isaac, we write most of the music, and so whenever we butt heads, we'll always be like, oh, let's call Austin, my cousin, and we'll get a third opinion. But then he'll give us his opinion, and we'll be like, no. We just have to find like a common enemy.
Well, it's good to have focus groups. I think that's a thing that more artists are now starting to do, is to like. It's funny because when I used to work for Atlantic Records, my boss was in awe, being like, "How are you getting these early stages of these songs? Like, don't artists like want to send something when it's perfect?" And I was like, "What are you talking about? This is the best time to listen to it because you can kind of hear the bones of it and like be able to help flesh it out. Like as an A&R, I could send it to X, Y, and Z or give them the right notes."
Right.
So I love that artists are starting to do that a bit more, where they show it not just to like their musician friends, but like family friends, managers, whoever, and getting more feedback of like
there's a pro and a con to it.
Yeah.
Like the pros are basically that you can show it to someone and they can kind of like push you a little bit.
Yeah.
Because you might be like lazy on your track or something, and you're like, oh no, I feel like this is good, like this ending's fine or something, and someone's like, no, it just feels like there needs to be something here. Like I'm just like not feeling it. And I'm like, okay, well I'll try something. And then you try something and it ends up you like it and you go with it.
Yeah.
And it really pushes it. And then the con is that you're getting too many opinions and it's just diluting the track, in some way.
Absolutely. And like with me, it's like when friends share me tracks, I always give advice just because I hate when people are like, our friends are just like, yeah, it's cool or awesome.
Right.
It's like that's not kind of an
That's not
experience.
Yeah.
That's like just give me. It's not a negative thing to be like, hey, like, change this course or this chord progression.
Well, I think it's getting to that point where, like what you're saying is that more musicians are doing focus group stuff, which means that I think more musicians are not walking on eggshells anymore with these opinions.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, I can take what you give me, just be honest. Like, I don't give a shit.
No, absolutely.
It's like, and that's how it should be. It's like, it's always cool to hear when artists kind of do everything themselves, but at the same time,
at the end of the day, that's not, you'll end up in a better position when you kind of build a community base that like helps you focus that.
Yeah.
And with Tim and I at Make On Music, that's our whole like ethos, is like introducing different kinds of sounds. Like even right now we have Tomka right here and Sean of Deluxe. Very different sounds, but at the same time similar in the sense where it's like kind of this like dancey, alternative, indie, like kind of electronica.
Yeah, what's your project?
It's Tomka, it's called.
Okay.
And it's pretty much.
What did you say?
It's Tomka. And
nothing really to add.
In which Tom has a show November 4th?
Yes, sir.
Is that next Friday?
Next Friday.
Next Friday.
Friday?
Yeah, it's dude. November is next
Where's
Friday.
that
At the Moroccan.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's
a headline. I'll be there with Silver Bells because we don't have a show, right? We don't have any shows next week.
We don't have any. This might be the first time we've had no shows in 3 months.
I love that.
Oh, wow.
No
I love
shows
that.
for a
So,
weekend.
I will definitely be purchasing a ticket and being there to support.
Where, what day, and where can they buy tickets?
You can buy tickets right now, and it's next Friday at the Moroccan Lounge at the late slot. So it's like 9 p.m. opener, and then I'll be on at like 10.
Was
Is that the late
I
spot?
can't believe you
10
got
o'clock's the
yeah.
late spot?
Maybe
Well, no,
10
but a lot of bands get the early spot.
Yeah.
Like a lot of bands will play at like.
But on a Friday?
The headliner will play at 8.
What?
For the
Yeah,
early
have you
slot,
not
yeah.
been? Have you not been to the early shows
I mean,
of the
shows,
Moroccan?
like, it just depends on the show. Like, you have to adapt to whatever it is. You know?
Yeah.
It's like,
Well, it's just that brings.
Oh, you meant like the late shows, like there's a second show.
There's
after
2
the-
shows.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
2
Yeah.
shows.
I was like-
Yeah, there's 2
Okay,
shows.
that, yes.
Right.
It's crazy that venues
Sorry,
are now.
it's been a lot.
It's so insane that like these venues are now doing that, and it's just like. It's weird because I kind of like it in the sense of like, I'm an older guy. I'm 31.
She's not that old.
It's still like
not,
it's
it is.
it's not. It
is.
is.
I mean,
It's like it's one of those things where it's like I'm kind of relieved when it's an earlier show because it's like
Right.
I get to go home and like go to bed at the right time and like be
But
up.
we also know that never happens. Like, I'll go home at a normal time and still stay up until
Right.
like 1:32.
Yeah.
What are you doing? What are you doing?
I'm on my phone. I'm talking to people. I'm playing video games. Like
yeah,
there's
it's
a
like
whole
it's
other
what you know. You go to the show, you enjoy it for whatever it is, 15 minutes.
That's like the highlight.
And you're like, what would it be like if I was just at home playing Zelda?
Right, exactly.
You know?
Like to be like, it's like it's like a normal.
It's like
Yeah.
it's annoying that you want to do that,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like you're gonna go with your instincts, and
Yeah.
you know, I don't fault, like if I'm playing a show and if someone's back in the crowd and they want to leave, I'm like, dude, that's your thing, dude.
Yeah.
Leave. I don't fault you.
I think we can all
Yeah.
collectively agree. Like we've all done that before. Been like,
Yeah.
you know
yeah.
what? I've seen the songs that I want to see.
Yeah.
I did that last night.
Did you did that
I
last
did-
night?
I did it last night because of a work thing. It wasn't
Yeah,
because
yeah, yeah.
I wanted to stick around because last night I caught Anxious opening up
Oh,
for
right.
Mags,
Right.
who is an artist that we love.
Wait,
played here. So
Mags? Oh no, it wasn't. Did
Mags is direct support.
Oh, Anxious opened up.
Anxious
oh,
opened up for
dang.
Mags.
Shout out
And then
Mags.
shout out to Mags. Sorry that I missed your set.
Shout out. Bud.
It was a work thing. He's the one that got me into the show too.
Yeah.
It's like, but and then Oso, who's also really great.
Mhm.
But yeah, I went there because I was like, oh, I have a work thing in the literally like at the bowling alley right there. And Anxious, like, if you don't know who Anxious is, they have an album called Greenhouse. Probably the best emo.
Isn't it called Little Greenhouse?
Little Greenhouse.
Yeah.
Little
Green
Greenhouse. One of the best
Home.
emo records to be put out this year.
Mm.
Please listen to it if you love that like emo kind of hardcore stuff. The show was incredible. But yeah, I did that. I literally caught Anxious and then I went to the work thing and that was that. And
What time
yeah,
did you
I
get
did.
home?
Well, I went to the work thing and I stayed there till.
No, I know. What time did you get home? After
Oh, I
work?
got home at like 3 a.m.
So see, I mean, here's the thing.
I know. Yeah, you literally caught me there. Yeah,
Yeah,
you definitely caught
That's
me
what I'm
there.
saying. It's just like, so then you go do something else. You still stay out till like 2 or 3 a.m.
No, but like, no, but it's not like I'm at home. I'm at home and I'm up till 3 a.m. If I'm at home, like I play Sudoku till I pass out. You know, it's like
Exactly.
that's like.
Well, yeah. I mean, I went to that Halloween party and Taylor was playing with his project.
What's his
and
project?
It's called San Lucar. It's kind of like a really like hyper, like power pop rap thing. Like
Is it hyper pop?
It's hyper pop and it's almost like LMFAO meets like The Garden.
What?
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a fun show. It's a backyard party. And like, I was there and I was kind of contemplating on going because I had to do so much shit and like prepare the live show stuff but I was like, I'm gonna go, and it was fun, and I went, but I like immediately left, and I was like, I'm going to my studio. It was like midnight, and I just went to my studio for like 4 hours.
No, I totally feel that. I'm someone, I'm an introvert, extrovert, where it's like, yeah, like when I'm out, but at the same time,
Yeah.
like I always complain about like I just want to be home.
Yeah.
But then I'm
yeah.
here and I get FOMO and then I just.
Right. It's a mood thing, dude.
It is.
just depends on your mood
It really
and,
depends on the mood.
I think there's a lot more introverted extroverts, or no, extroverted introverts
Mhm.
than I think we know. Because like I didn't think I was that for a very long time. I thought I was just like an extrovert because I was going out all the time, whatever. And then the pandemic actually helped me realize that. I was just I have to stay at home and do something.
Yeah.
And at the time, my girlfriend and I we just started to cook a lot more
Mhm.
together. We'd have family dinners and stuff like that.
Right.
And it was like it got to the point where I was like, I actually really enjoy not going out.
Yeah.
anymore. And so even
Yeah.
now, Tony, you're back.
Yeah, it's like I feel like he's now just gonna chill.
Yeah.
Your motivation.
My motivation got, and
Yeah.
I live out in Pasadena, which is a little bit farther than say when I lived in Echo Park or Koreatown or something like that. So
Mhm.
like, when I was living in Koreatown or Echo Park, I had like no excuse to go to things because I was like, it's 5-10 minutes away.
Right.
I mean, all things considered.
Yeah.
But now that I'm in Pasadena, I'm like, it's gonna take me 40 minutes to get. No, fuck that. If
Right,
I don't,
right, yeah.
if I don't need to go, I'm not going.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm gonna stay at home,
Yeah.
listen to records, just do my own thing, and just
Yeah.
be just be alone.
Yeah,
Which is so
exactly.
nice.
No, it's true. I mean, the pandemic was like, you know, I was fortunate enough to have a studio, so you know, I would just go there. I wouldn't stay home. Like if I was locked up in my room, I would go crazy.
Right.
So I like actually, you know, I had the chance to be creative and shit, and so, which I'm sure a lot of people. I don't know if you do too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean?
Or like studio, or.
God, I wish I was in my room.
Oh, okay.
But it's just like making like your room. It's kind of like this, where it's like making specific parts of your room like almost different. So it's like keeps you entertained.
Oh, crazy.
So I just have my like studio on my desk, and it's like a whole. Try to like make that a whole different world almost.
I mean, that's also
But it wears you
nice
down.
too, though, to like wake up and be able to do that. Like I don't. We like rent out a rehearsal spot and like make it our studio and our live room, but like I've had that for like so long that like doing something in my own room is like strange. And, but I do like the idea of like being able to like wake up and then just work on shit immediately.
But then you can't stop.
Yeah.
It's like work from home. It's the same thing.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Ecosystem is everything, honestly, and it goes kind of back to your record of like changing that ecosystem and like everything constantly. But like even like here, you know, like I remember when pandemic happened, it was like very traumatic in so many ways. One, Jack, who's filming right now.
He's our producer. And producer, best friend, also started to make out music. He had just left the spot to live elsewhere, and it was like it was one of those things where it's like, like there's so much changing. Like, you know, at that point, like I lost, because with us it was mostly live shows. Like we did have like A&Rs reaching out for work stuff, but like they all went to a halt because no one knew what the fuck was going on.
Right.
And when Jack left, and I like looked at the opportunity, being like, you know, I actually had like a mental breakdown. You know, like I like ended a relationship. I thought I lost everything. And like the one thing that I was talking to my therapist at the time was like, it doesn't sound like you have your own ecosystem that actually feels like yours. You know, maybe you should take this time to really focus in on that. And that's like kind of what I did. And like while I was here, like you see the stage we're on right now. I live here. If you don't know this, I live here. But I looked at it and I was like, I'm gonna try to make this my own. And like the first thing I thought of about the stage development, actually it was the second thing. The first thing was there's this place in LA called EcoSet. If you're a young musician or artist of any kind, if you want free shit, like
free props.
No, free anything, like clothes, furniture, not just some of these. The chair you're sitting on.
I mean, you can
EcoSet.
consider this a prop.
That's not a prop. I don't know. But basically, there's this place called.
It's a prop right now.
There's a place called EcoSet where a bunch of movie studios will leave their excess props.
Oh yeah.
So if you're looking for.
And movie studios love giving away shit when they're done with it.
Oh yeah. So basically, they left all this stuff, and the first idea of the venue space was they did a shoot with a giant microwave. Like a minivan-sized microwave, which they told me the measurements, would have fit this perfectly. I know, Jack. It would have fit it perfectly. What?
Was it functional?
No, it wasn't. No, of course not. That'd be crazy.
That would be sick.
No, crazy. It was literally just this outline of this microwave in which the measurements would have fit perfect right here.
Yeah.
And it would have been fun because when we did shows, like we would have called it the microwave, and because it just got so hot in here.
Right.
Because we didn't have AC. Like it was like kind of like the smell. The smell is called the smell because they don't have AC and it just smells gross. You know, it has that like charm. So I remember delivering. I cut this microwave in half, delivering it here, just to find out that they lied about the measurements and it was too big. And which I remember Jack at the time. Jack helped me move it in which it's like this. As I said, it's a minivan size microwave. We moved it in, and we Jack looked at me, and I remember this to this very day. He's just like, God, fucking damn it, fuck you. And then like walked away, which is like the most appropriate response.
Yeah.
Because it took us like 2 hours to move this giant thing to realize it didn't fit. But shout out to Chewing Foil. That venue ended up taking it. And then when pandemic happened, I missed being outside so much. I had the idea of making a front of a Craftsman home in grass and all that stuff because we couldn't do that.
Right.
So
Which
I
is,
like
if
did
you can
that.
Tell, there's
Yeah.
fake grass, and I don't know if you want to pan the thing up to make it look to see.
Yeah,
the,
there's clouds. And,
yeah.
You know, and I kind of made, it was really important to make this kind of feel like it's my own. And now, like, more than ever, it's like all the furniture you see, all the, you know, feng shui, like, that's all me, you know, like, people, like, go in and out of these 2 rooms all the time, but, like,
Most of yours, no one really goes out of John's room.
well, no, I meant, like, when they live here.
Oh, right, yeah.
Like,
yeah,
John,
yeah.
like, you know, Warner, it's so funny, Warner's probably lived, he's technically lived here for over a year, but he's only actually lived here for, like, 2 months.
2 months, yeah.
Which is really funny. But yeah, I think it kind of goes back to like an ecosystem is like a really, to me, it's very important.
Yeah.
I think that's the most important thing to me is like having a place where I feel actually comfortable and accommodated. And like, that's what the kind of pandemic showed me. You know, it's like, it's okay to like stay home and feel good about where you're at. And with this record, with this new record, you're kind of like losing that and finding this new, you know, and like, what kind of grasp have you gone out after moving from your childhood home?
Honestly, it's I mean, it's different but the same. You know, it's just a different feeling. Like, it's especially moving to different neighborhoods. I mean, like, I have no problems adapting to wherever I go. Honestly, like, I don't. It was like before that house was sold. You know, I was like dreading it being just purely on a nostalgic, purely on like sentimental value.
Yeah.
And then when it was sold, it was just like, okay, done, moving on. It was like my head just like, I felt way better. You know, like I was fine.
It's like a Band-Aid. Just like once it was
Well,
pulled
yeah,
off,
yeah.
wow.
Like maybe people might like, you know, they'll think about it too much or like, oh, I miss my home. But I didn't have any of that or anything. I was just like, okay, like this is my life now. Like I'm chilling.
Well, it's funny because listening to your record, it
Yeah.
sounds like you're just, as I said, it's so funny because it's one of those records where you listen to the production and it's so happy-go-lucky, and then you listen to the lyrics and it's very like, it's just so sad. It's just like, it's like what is life? Like what's love? Like
Right.
and you know, it's like. You're telling me this, but when I listen to the record, I feel like you're lying to me.
Well, no, because it makes sense because I wrote a lot of that when I was dreading.
Yeah.
So you know, there was like pretty much all those songs were written before.
Crazy.
And like because like we you know, when was it? We had written a lot of those ideas out. You know, we were just working on them for years or whatever. Just like through the pandemic as well, and like, but that was just like ironing out things and like going to a different studio or something, like getting different sounds and shit. And this is actually the first record where we went somewhere else and recorded stuff.
Where'd you guys go?
We went to our friend Johnny. He has this studio called Jazz Cats in Long Beach. It's
Shout
just
out-
in his. It's in his.
Shout out to Jazz Cats.
Yeah, shout out to Jazz Cats. He actually just bought a building and he's like moving his studio. It used to be in his back house, but now he's like completely renovating an entire building.
Oh, that's amazing.
Which is crazy.
You love to see it glow up like that.
Yeah. But the experience with him was great. I mean, like we, you know, I think we went in like 3 times, and each time was like a full week, and you know, we had never done that before. We always been in our own environment, our own bubble. Like we have the amount of time to like detail things out or whatever. But this was like a different thing where we're like, how is the time frame gonna like mess with us? And it was definitely a pro and a con, push and a pull. And it was like, you know, the first day we went in, we were like, okay, let's work on this song. Let's like get it like nice and like everything, just this song. And then we realized like this could take like way too long, especially for like what we're trying to do. Let's just record as many ideas as we want, just collect and then bring it back, you know.
Yeah.
And so that's what we did. So it was fun because it was like, you know, we could like ask friends to come in and do shit. Like Tyler came in, Tyler Lott, he came in and like laid down guitar. Like it was like if we have a song that we've written and we have ideas, like we're gonna like think of the right person for it.
Yeah.
And obviously, and like we're not, if they come in and they record guitar through the whole track and, you know, we did that for 5 hours and it didn't work out, it didn't work out. Like I'm here to serve the song. I'm not here to serve like whoever's to come in or whatever. And but yeah, he like, you know, I think he did it on like 2 or 3 songs, and one of the songs was like really sick. And
Nice.
McCarthy as well. He's on Validation.
That song is really interesting.
That's my favorite song.
Oh really?
That was
honestly,
when I was listening to it earlier today. Validation was the ones. It was one of the few songs that like really stood out to me. Cause
nice.
It sounded not dissonant, but like there was like a, how do I put this? There was like an angst to the soundscape that you guys were creating.
For sure, yeah.
Which was really interesting.
Yeah, I mean it was cool. There's a lot of like all the way through takes, like with the guitar, or at least most of the guitar, the percussion and claps, like all the way through. A lot of the drums and like so there's like synth effects and shit. It's just like a lot of like jamming. It was funny because like we had done those 1 takes through, and just like jam takes, and a lot of that just like ended up being there. Like I didn't have to like edit anything. It was just like, oh, I'm just gonna leave it all in there. It sounds cool.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it has like a more live feel than I think most of the other ones.
Oh no, it definitely does.
Yeah.
Tony.
And also the vocals on that track are like very like in the background in a way.
Oh no,
I'm just like shouting for it. You know, I'm shouting to be in the front, but I can't get there. You know.
I love when musicians do that. Honestly, it reminds me of like Sigur Rós and Down Heaven, and like where it's like the whole point of the track is it's supposed to sound good sonically rather than actual, like, you know, there are storytellings to it, but at the same time you can't really hear it.
Yeah, you know, like I could have like bumped it up in the mix, had it nice and clean, and like had it poppy. But that one just served to be that kind of thing where it's just like howling in the background. You know?
Well, you're catching a feeling, you know.
Yeah,
like that's honestly like what musicians should aim for. It's not supposed to be super polished or whatever. You know, it kind of reminds me of like the new Mars Volta record, where it's like, oh man, I freaking hate this thing.
Yeah, that's right.
I just don't like it. I love the Mars Volta to death.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it just and that's like a lot of older bands will do. They'll just over polish their stuff because they finally have the equipment to do so.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like no, like go back to like recording on an 8-track, or go back to like tile mixing.
I was like re-listening to, because I listened to Chili Peppers when I was like 13, 14 a lot.
Oh my god, yeah.
And
all of us.
You know, well, that's actually the one I didn't like.
Oh, well, that was I was saying that's like that was the era that.
Yeah, well, it was By the Way for me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Californication.
Yeah, Californication, By the Way. And then like after I listened to those, I was like Blood Sugar Sex Magic.
Yeah, of course.
That's sick. But it's interesting listening to those recordings because they're kind of bad.
Oh.
Like they're pretty bad, but like the songs are good. They had
personality.
Yeah. You know?
I love listening to certain mixes of those generation artists. Like for example, like Justice.
Oh yeah.
Like I listened to Justice Cross and I'm like, oh, this is mixed terribly.
I mean, yeah.
You know, but it was at its time.
But it had its thing. You know,
definitely.
Like, it's crazy. But yeah, like going back to Validation, it was kind of like, I mean, the song is like basically seeking validation, so it's like I think being the vocals being tucked.
Tony,
just right in his ear.
Speaking of validation, you know, the vocals being tucked is kind of like this cry to like have that, you know.
Yeah.
And so that was like having that mood or whatever. Like a mix can translate into a mood or whatever.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
And honestly, those are like my favorite style of music. It's just when people can like kind of mix it away where like people can actually understand the feeling of this track.
Exactly,
you know, it's like that's the message. But no, that was definitely one of my highlights of the record. Honestly, like, you know, the first single, like, you know, New Summer, incredible.
Hey,
and just like the whole style of music, I just like, you know, that's something that I grew up loving. You know, I love that, and I love that it's coming back. You know, this is the point where it's like it's one of those things where it's like I listen to you guys, I'm like, man, if you guys like lived in New York and just did all the venues there.
I feel like our sound is not coming back.
No, it is though. Like it's the point where like that's like a main discussion right now.
Yeah.
Is
it's like,
it's like New York. What is it? New York. Not New York chic, but like New York.
heroin chic.
Well, no, but it's like Meet Me in the Bathroom.
Oh yeah.
So like that style, that whole style of music's coming back.
Well, I know.
Now.
Well, I think I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like
indie rock.
I think the talk singing and guitars is really coming back.
Oh,
Like that's a huge thing.
I think it's kind of a groove too. Like honestly, the main discussion right now is like the main talk right now is this band called The Dare, which very fun song, incredibly fun song.
Girls.
I don't know if I've heard it.
Oh man, it's literally. Have you heard of Lizzo's Boys?
Yeah.
It's literally that version for men in the theme of James Murphy.
Oh.
And kids are just obsessed with it. Right now.
Yeah,
it's like there's a whole all the New York scene, like all those shows sell out like no other. And it's just this scene where it's like, oh my god, like this is shit that I grew up with, but like a really like funny version.
Grab Tony. Tony is now harassing.
I know. He's literally like, if I grab him,
He's been a nightmare.
I know. What's up, dude? He's been like this all day, honestly. Like, what's up, dude? We went on walks. We went on we did all these things.
Finding a new angle.
She doesn't harass our guests.
Like, what's up? You're like humping him the whole time.
I believe you.
I get it. He's a good-looking guy. I get it. I absolutely get it. No, but I think it really is, and it's like one of those things where it's like it's just like you kind of like once again it's every 10 years. This style of music's coming back. Like it's just so crazy that like Crystal Castles is now Alice Glass is now
That's
a
true.
legendary face now, and it's like
one of my friends' bands.
Who's the other guy? Ethan.
Oh, he's done. Like he's I don't even want to discuss him. Go ahead.
But like one of my friends' bands who I long time ago before Deluxe I did like live sound, and I was doing live sound for that band Moving Units.
Oh, love them.
Yeah, and I did like a little short run with them, and the guitar player that he hired, or bass player I think, I follow him. He basically plays kind of like Crystal Castles type of stuff, and like they're actually opening for Alice Glass in San Diego.
Oh, huge.
But like they're doing like way better now than they were, and they're like that sound like it's like that kind of like goth electro type of thing, which is interesting. Like that feels like it's coming back in some way.
And it's funny because as someone who works on the record label side, now like these record deals where it's like 10-year, 15-year license, it makes sense because it just gets brought back 10 years, and the odds of it actually hitting and being bigger, you know, I get it. I get why labels are asking for that. Yeah. Obviously, like, you know, I love this day and age where it's like you can just do a distribution deal and not have to do all that stuff and kind of do it yourself. You know, but you've been on the same label for like
for all the records.
For all the records.
Yeah, I mean, and it's been great. I mean, like it's weird. I mean, people ask me like, "Oh, how is IL or Innovative Leisure?" And I always tell them it's great in terms of like they give you complete 100% creative control. Yeah. And that's all you can really ask for, and support in terms of like providing vinyl and all that shit. Of course. And support, you know, and so like but I always say like I don't know how any other label is. I've never been on. I can't compare.
Right.
You know? I'm not, you know.
But you've had a positive experience with this label, so
that's like the most important thing. Not a lot of artists have that privilege to actually really like where they're at and continue on doing it. You know, and like, and it's just crazy because this music world we're in is constantly changing all the time.
It's fucking crazy. Especially, I think I really didn't notice up until the past few months how much the pandemic really did affect. Because honestly, I just thought, it's just a blip. Like everything's gonna be the same after, but really no, it really like things fucking change.
Oh.
Like it's insane. Especially in the way that like bands really have to, you really have to do a lot of it yourself. You really have to focus on. I mean, obviously it's the fucking social media thing, and all that crap. And like, I've been looking into that shit, and it's just like not fun.
It's a full-time job.
It's a full-time job, but also it's like I don't want to go into it in like a way where I'm like, okay, this is like a business, but I have to, but I don't want to, and then it becomes less genuine. But I just want to find a balance of like, okay, well, I'm just gonna do the things I want to do, and like, hopefully, like, you know, take those notes of like what helps in terms of those platforms and all that shit.
I mean, I guess this is a question for both of you because I think I've always seen independent, like small independent bands, they have to sort of consider themselves to be a small independent business. Because I mean, you know, I guess it depends though. If you're treating this as like a hobby, then sure, it's not a business. But if this is what you want your career to be, you have to treat every aspect of the band as like a small business owner and make those kinds of decisions of like, well, how do I do X, Y, Z? You know, and stuff like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, and it's also, I've noticed that, you know, I think we're all around the same age. Like I'm 32.
Yeah.
I don't know how old you are.
I'm a bit younger.
Okay,
I'm 22.
But I would say, like, you know,
I was like, keep it.
I think a lot of like, I did notice that a lot of like Gen Z artists, they get into music and most music, obviously most music comes out of hobby though. It's like that's how it always is.
Right,
you know?
right.
And I'm not saying like Gen Z artists don't start that way. They definitely do, but I think that they grew up in a world where they understand that game. They understand social media so well already from the get-go that they know what to do.
Yeah.
It's instinctual. The entry's like almost backwards, where it's your social media first, and then it's like, might as well make some music.
Basically, and like,
I have the following.
But those are just pandemic bands, though. That's the crazy.
Well, yeah, that's
the crazy thing about all that is like, you know, there's bands that did really well during pandemic online and all of that, but when it comes to selling tickets and like putting on shows, you know, I know bands that have million streams but can't sell 100 tickets in a major city.
Not even a million tickets. I mean, or a million streams. Like we know bands who have 300-400 million streams.
Oh no, I meant monthly listeners. Sorry,
monthly listeners.
Monthly listeners. They'll have 1 million monthly listeners, but they can't sell tickets in a major city.
That's weird.
And as a promoter, the most interesting show that we ever had was this band. It was the second show they played here. They're called Ben Stellar, and they only had 4,000 monthly listeners, but they sold 220 tickets in a place that they didn't live in.
Well, the thing is that when I started doing more research and all this, like I realized monthly listens is like completely, it's not accurate. What you have to look at is the follows, and then literally when it literally comes down to your Instagram followers, like, and if there's a presence there, like it literally is pretty much that, because that's actual people who follow you, and if they're actually engaging and like they're with you and part of your shit, and basically, you know, that's the other thing is that what I've realized is that pre-pandemic there was a lot more, at least from the music industry, it seemed there was a bit more leeway with I'm interested in music, I like your music, I'm gonna try to support you, help you out. And now it's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that now. I have to like really go off of like how you're doing, and now I can help you.
Well, it's also just like, why am I wasting my time? Like, if you're not, you can't just be good anymore. You have to be great, because now you have to be I'm gonna spend, you know, I'm gonna buy a $20 ticket that turns into $30 after Ticketmaster fucks you.
Right.
And then you have to spend $50 at the bar, so that's $80. And then there's parking if you're going to like a bigger show or something like that. Which, by the way, when I went to My Chemical Romance at
it's $45.
Parking was $60.
Where'd you park?
I don't know.
I parked it.
Wait, was it 45?
It was $45. I was like,
okay.
I thought it was gonna be
though,
more than that, but honestly, yeah, I agree.
$45 to go park your car, like
Yeah.
that's still so ridiculous.
Well, I have a better solution to that. Like, I slash people's tires.
Oh right.
and then I get in their thing and I like make sure I can get their car out. And then
Well, that's why I drive a monster truck.
Yeah.
Drive on top. But yeah, I mean, so like, if you're gonna spend that kind of money to go out, like your night can easily become $120.
Yeah.
Very quickly. You know, it's like how, and for obviously that's for the bigger acts. I mean, most small acts aren't playing the Kia Forum.
But I still paid $20 for a drink at a smaller show.
Yeah,
Live Nation show. You know, it's
like even at the Echo, it's $10 for. They did have a funny beer there with a unicorn on it, which I don't know what beer that was, but it was the marketing was funny. But I mean, still $10 for a beer, you know.
Well, like if you're gonna pay $10, it better have a unicorn on it.
I mean, it might better have a unicorn in it, right?
Yeah, I was like, did I? Yeah, it has to be some mythical like pigs can fly. Like I'll pay $20 when I see pigs fly, and then that's the drink. Which is that going to be the drink for this Saturday? This Saturday, deluxe.
Exactly.
Office Drummer, Tiger State, playing here. What's the
buy
drink?
your tickets on Dice.
Yeah, buy your tickets on Dice. There's actually, it's funny. My, my complex mate.
Oh yeah, Mike.
You know Mike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I met Mike through an ex-girlfriend, but like sort of Innovative Leisure as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Innovative Leisure pre-pandemic had a like 10-year anniversary show at Pappy and Harriet's, and we played, and they hired Mike to do like the filming and like photos and stuff like that for the event. And
wait, down the hall, Mike?
Yeah, down the hall.
Oh shit.
And my ex-girlfriend was working with him. We met there, and then we did some like press photos with him in his spot and stuff.
Sick.
Here?
Yeah, we did it in his spot.
What?
Yeah.
That's
Jeff's so offended you didn't.
Dude,
like,
honestly,
knock on his
well,
door.
it's funny because Sean and I, like we met today.
Yeah.
This is the first time we actually met. We never actually met. I've met Tyler's. I met the Tylers.
Yeah. I think
met Taylor.
we only know the Tylers. I'm trying to remember how I met Tyler a lot.
Maybe here.
Well, he came here with
Tyler,
with the other Tyler.
I feel like
that's when I met.
I feel like I met him though. Did he play in another band? Was he ever in a?
Tyler, he's playing in a few bands. He used to play in this band called The Boogie a long time ago.
I feel like I met him through Kevin Bronson.
Oh,
from Buzz Bands.
Yeah, he used to play in a band called 2/8.
Yes.
Yeah,
right?
Richard played in that band as well,
Right.
and McCarthy.
Whoa.
Yeah. Okay, I think that's actually how I met the two Tylers.
Oh wow.
And Richard I met through 100
Onces.
100 Onces.
Yeah.
Right. Shout out to Barrett as well.
Yeah, Barrett.
Barrett used to do our sound when we first started out.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, Barrett and I go. Honestly, Richard was my first friend. We were baby friends.
Wow.
The first person, the first other kid, or like whatever, was him.
Yeah.
First sleepover I had was with Richard.
That's crazy.
Which Richard is Office Drummer. Which should we like? He said to raid him. If you don't know the Office Drummer, he's a famous Twitch drummer.
Yeah.
In which he told us to raid him.
We'll figure it out. Everyone stick around.
I
we actually do have a question from somebody known as MJ. It says, as a fairly newcomer to the music industry, how does one quote unquote find their audience, so to speak, and sell those tickets? Is it all just about getting that social media presence? I'll let the artist speak first.
I would love to hear your version of
before
this.
my dumbass opens my mouth.
I got all the.
I mean, that's all. That's like almost a mystery to me in some ways, but it's literally just tinkering. Like you make your music, you make what you want, and you see what comes out of it. Like who's interested. Like, but you have to like leave your friends out of it, right? So if you're starting and it's just your friends coming, you can't kind of base it on that completely. You have to base it on like if some new fans have seen you. And you can kind of tailor it that way, but yeah, it's definitely a tinkering game. Like you just have to. I still honestly like don't even like completely like we have our fans that a lot of them are very different people, and I can't quite gauge it. but I think also comparing yourself to other artists in similar genres, you can kind of, I think that's what you could stem from too, is like, you know, if like you're an emo band or if you're a hardcore band, like you can see these artists that you like and understand who their following is, and you can kind of tap into that. I think that's the best thing. Like I've been actually like, you know, like I was saying, I've been like researching a bit more.
Yeah. And
which I never did. I never like, I never gave a shit, and I still kind of don't give a shit because I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But like when I was doing some more research, it's like you are like you're in this like position where you have to figure out that audience in a way where like how do I say it? It's like you have to find that balance of like if you have an album or something and every song is different, you kind of have to figure out, okay, which song is for that person.
Yeah.
In a way, unless your sound is like so completely consistent in that repetitivity, you know, but you have to like kind of dial in like what is it and what is that song speaking to that person. Like I mean there's the other thing about advertising, social media. I mean you see it all the time, like you scroll and like see bands, and I'll scroll and I'll see something I like a lot, honestly, and sometimes I won't, and like it just depends, like, but I think you kind of have to do that, and we never really tapped into that. But it's definitely a thing, like it's like what you have to do basically. But and to go even a little bit further on that, basically what I had researched, because like everyone talks about the fucking like algorithms and shit, right? And so apparently like the Instagram algorithm, because I had noticed you know, we have a certain amount of followers. We used to get like maybe this was 8 months ago, maybe 7 months ago, but we used to get like upwards of 700 to 800 views per story average. And then all of a sudden, like a few months later, it just tanked.
Were you consistent with your stories?
Yeah, like every now and then, I definitely like I went on and off. Like if I was like really busy, I wasn't posting as much, whatever. But then when I was, it was always like upwards of those numbers, and all of a sudden just a huge drop off.
Because I found when I post too many memes on my stories, like it's just bad. Just,
No, that's all. Honestly, it's an issue.
It's like
we've been meaning to talk about it.
But I find like when I post consistently, because I'll post anywhere between like 15 to 30 memes in one just sitting. And then that's just that for 24 hours. But I find if I do it consistently for like 3-4 days in a row, that my story counts will get up to like the 600-700 number. But then if I take a day off or 2 days off or a week off, it'll drop all the way back down.
I mean,
so
that
they
makes
encourage,
sense.
they encourage
because
consistency.
The more you use the platform, the more they're gonna like help you.
Right.
You know, and so, but I find it really annoying and frustrating.
Absolutely.
No, obviously. And I think, well, because I did read that apparently they did the same thing as what I noticed they did with Facebook a long time ago, because that same shit happened where it was like, we have like 10 or 12,000 people who like us on Facebook, yet we're not reaching them. Because they're like, no, we're gonna reduce that to 10%. You can only reach 10%, and now you have to pay. And so that's what they're doing with Instagram. So it's just like,
funny, who bought Instagram? What's that company?
MySpace.
Something like that.
But Tom, what about you? I guess?
Similar.
Because I honestly, I will go off on a tangent about all of this.
No, bringing it back, like I guess that whole world of like the promotion side of social media side, it can get so. It feels like we're already like. It's only been a thing for like 5 years, or 10 years, but it seems like it's already like. We're down such a rabbit hole, especially for creatives.
I don't know. I think it's been around for a lot longer. I mean, the first instance that I heard about social media was this comedian by the name of Dane Cook using MySpace as
Tim's favorite comedian.
It's definitely not my favorite.
Can we quote that? Tim's favorite comedian, Dane Cook.
But like the way when he had his first I don't know if it was his first special or whatever special that blew him up. That was like 2002, 2003.
Yeah, well, I mean, like MySpace did come up around then.
Yeah.
And Facebook kind of took over like late 2000s or whatever.
Yeah.
Later odds.
Yeah. But I mean, but to his point about like 5 or 6 years ago, it really has like escalated to a point where it's like, this is people's resumes, this is people's livelihood.
Yeah,
This is your
in
career.
terms of like making a career and getting signed off of it, and like that has to be like, for the most part, that's what people are looking for.
And I see it, you know, I see like you'll follow friends who are like creatives and like artists and people who, you know, are struggling in that sense, and you can see it, they're doing the same research, they're like trying different things, and I see some friends where it's like totally genuine, I see some friends where they're really trying.
You're like,
and I'm like,
not
I'm
who
rooting
you
for you. I'm rooting for you, but like I'm sad that it's like it has to come to this.
Yeah.
But like artistically, finding an audience, like going off, that was like, there's a happy medium between like looking at your peers in that your genre and like calculating kind of how you're gonna like fit in, and then there's the other side of it is just trusting your gut and just like letting it all flow. And there's like there's times and places for like both of those, and just like trying to find that like balance and like figuring out where and when like each one of those takes place, and that's like been the huge learning curve and process for me. Where it's like where I find myself like overthinking it and being like trying to calculate it too much, and then it's like, dude, you gotta trust your gut, and that's going off of your like authenticity, and then all of that is gonna follow, like the social media and everything. If it just, you can do a little bit of calculation, but at the end of the day, if you don't enjoy it, people will usually pick up on that. And then
it's like you know, if you're gonna put it like in percentage wise, it's like 80% genuine, 20% calculated. You know, like leave it at that. If you go any further, it's like you're fucking yourself over.
Exactly.
You know,
it feels off.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say the caveat is like, there is no silver bullet. If any of us had a silver bullet, we would be doing this at a very different place.
Yeah.
You know, we would have very different. Our bank accounts would be very different. And I think it just depends on every individual act itself, what feels right for you and your audience. Not to like throw them under the bus, but like, what's that Steel Panther band? Just over the top, rock and roll,
for
metal.
Sure.
Dude, I haven't heard that band's name in.
I know, but like, but when I see some of their promo things pop up, I'm like, okay, I don't think this is genuinely who they are, but they have this gregarious character that they play into. Yeah. I get it. I understand it, and people want to live in that. They love that fantasy of like 1980s thrash metal kind of thing, or hair metal.
So, to quote Tim's favorite comedian Dane Cook, and Tim's favorite band Steel Panther. But no, this is my advice. You know, as someone, like my job, I A&R consult. I tell with people all the time. You know, if you want to build a genuine fan base, it's like it's all about community and being genuine. Yeah, that's all it is. It's as long as you can handle those things and be accepting, you're just only going to get bigger and more powerful. And like, it's to the point where it's like, people can easily sniff that out. More reason why when we do posts, we no longer post the flyers anymore, because people don't want to see flyer. They want to see people, genuine people doing well. They want to see faces doing well. And so like, we started pivoting that way because we realized the algorithm focused more than that. And that also, like with certain platforms, you know, like Instagram and all, TikTok and whatnot, they don't want you leaving their platform. So when you like, to the point where we recognize that, instead of saying link in bio, we spell it Lincoln, like the name, and bio in one word, just so people can understand. Or we don't even say it anymore. It's like, you know, to get tickets, because once you put that, all the algorithm, whatever, they'll recognize it and then they'll flop it off. But you know, it's funny because like Spotify, especially, they want to be like an Instagram. They want you to post about it every day, all the time. And there's certain bands. There's this one band called Sipper from New York, who posts a new song every 2 weeks, and he's been doing that for years. Do you know how many monthly listeners he has? Fucking like 600K monthly listeners. Yeah.
Well, he's keeping the audience engaged.
Well, no, but like he's not. I don't think it's so much that. I think he's doing what the system wants him to do, and they're
Exactly.
benefiting him.
Well, yeah.
And I don't think he's ready. It's to the point where he could sell tickets just yet. But he's doing what these platforms want. And if you want to sell tickets and all that kind of stuff, as I said, we mentioned the band Ben Stiller,
Mm-hmm.
who has 4,000 monthly listeners, sold 220 tickets here, which we didn't know about.
So,
You know,
not to cut you off, but it makes me think about pre-social media was like quality, like artists were focused on quality and not so much about quantity, and now it literally is the game
Yeah.
to put quantity. It doesn't like
absolutely.
sure you can have quality with quantity, depending on who you are, what you're doing, but you can. That's basically what people are doing now, is just like as much as possible.
Well, no, of course, but there's ways of doing a bit of both.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
there's ways of doing both
I
where
think
it's
it also depends what tier you are, because you can have like a Drake or a Kendrick Lamar, like not put out an album for 4 years or whatever.
Yeah,
well,
exactly.
No,
exactly.
but that's different.
Right,
that's
new.
that's
We're talking
superstar.
about new artists, and as a new artist, there's ways of being active and giving these platforms what they want, but at the same time, you don't always have to put your name, like the band name, on it. Like that's why so many artists are getting publishing deals or like all these other things, because it's like, oh, their name is credible, and these places feel more comfortable pushing the music because they have this, like, they have all these credits. And there's certain artists, I have a lot of friends who are great musicians, early musicians get on New Music Friday and all this stuff because they've been in this business for a long time, and when they pitch themselves, they're able to tell these platforms that I'm a career artist, because that's what these platforms want. There's 100,000 songs put into the streaming services every day now. It's 100,000, which is bonkers.
Like a moral
And the way you stand out between all of that is like, it's all about just being able to communicate and express who you are genuinely, rather than just throwing it out in the world.
Right.
Like at this point, like if you want to make these playlists, like know who's distributing your stuff, have a communication, have all those type of things. Like you need to do that to actually like have people willing to fight,
but also
to put you on these platforms. But this once again, I'll go back to it.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks,
Mm-hmm.
in the sense of like, for example, the band that sold this place out had 4,000 monthly Spotify listens, but they sold it out because they reached other areas that not a lot of people think about. I asked all the people in line, how'd you hear about the Bandcamp? And I was like, really? Bandcamp has like this kind of community where it's like they could sell out shows? Like, yeah, they have a community. And people also forget that YouTube is the highest streaming platform on the internet.
Yeah.
It's not Spotify, it's YouTube. To the point where their deal points are so bad, like they're like, what is it, like 0.0030 cents?
Right.
Oh, you
Compared
mean
to
the
like whatever.
royalty rate?
Yeah, their rate.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I've had a lot of bands, like for example, there was a band who played last night at Zebulon who popped off from a record that was 2 years old because they kept on hitting the YouTube playlisting. And they went from like, it went from a record being like, oh man, like this great record was kind of a flop, to like this revival being like, oh, people are understanding it, and they're able to put it out. And now they're doing this tour. Like, they didn't think they were going to do that. They all separated. Like one of the members actually lives in India, and then they started hitting it off, being like, oh, let's bring it back and let's do this quick tour.
Yeah.
It's like there's other ways of going about it. You just have to shoot your shot, depending what the style is. And it even with TikTok, like I know, like at first I was like, I get it. It's not like a sexy look or whatever.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we have an artist that we worked with who produced for another artist, and she was posting on her TikTok with their production. And it's not like her shit went viral, but she got 200 likes, and like Jai Paul heard the song, reached out to them being like, who produced this, or who's this artist? Who are you? This is sick.
The algorithm is
I
have no idea.
So it's one of those things where it's like, and then I tell these indie bands being like, well, this happens, like I know you don't want to do it, but at the same time, like there's a point where it's like it's just shooting your shot. It's just like eventually like something crazy will hit, and the artists get so discouraged all the time. Like I know so many artists that were like just so down in their lucks because when they put something out, they expect immediate reaction. It's like, no, these things take time.
Yeah.
And what you got to do is be able to show the right people why it's a hit, or show everyone why it's a hit.
Yeah.
But showing like kind of, you know, like producers and whatnot, and having an ecosystem being like, this is who we are. Like it just will really benefit you.
Yeah. You can't just let it sit. You know, you have to really put it out there. The more. That's why I was talking about the quantity thing. Is that the more you're putting out there, the more someone's going to hear of it. Leads to some show. It leads to whatever.
Yeah.
Well, it's not just the act of putting something out. It's that you put it out and then you have to work it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that working part, that's like, there's a finesse to that. That depending on, you know, the world that you're a part of. I mean, just even going from like pop to rap to hip hop, there are completely different ways that you approach the same issue.
Yeah, and you know the thing about the band having 4,000 monthly listeners, I'd rather have that and sell tickets.
Yeah,
the thing is like those 4,000 monthly listeners might be listeners that go directly to their page to listen, rather than their playlist listeners.
Right. Yeah.
Like I'd rather have that.
Absolutely.
100%.
No, of course,
You know?
and like ways of being able to do that is hitting these different markets, and also just like doing non-traditional things. You know, like one of the like. They play venues like this rather than do an actual venue where they're like, you know, like they're pressed by promoters or like people to the point where it's stressful. And like that's what we as Make Out Music do. It's like we want to show these other routes to other artists, being like, hey, there's other ways of doing this and they're non-traditional. You know, like that's what I learned from my previous experience working for a festival. You know, like I saw Phoebe Bridgers play at a YMCA, you know, with Julian Baker.
Yeah.
Which was awesome.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like artists are like, we have to play these big venues, we have to do all this stuff, but you know, that's just kind of how it is these days.
Yeah, yeah.
But no, we are coming, you know, we are coming to time.
Yeah.
We're at 8:30 now.
Okay.
Anything you guys want to plug?
Anything you guys want to plug? Like, I love the record so much. I love both of you guys so much. Deluxe playing here on Saturday, headline Halloween show. Costume, mandatory. Unlike this fucking podcast, where it's funny, if you're listening in, I'm dressed up as a Furmy, or like a Squirmy. It's one of those like fur wormy toys.
He's actually not wearing anything.
I told everyone to dress up.
I did not get that text.
Yeah. What do you mean?
I did not get that text.
Oh my god, dude. You guys are such assholes. But yes. Literally, so Deluxe, Saturday, Halloween show, costume mandatory, unlike this podcast. Or it was mandatory, but no one listened. Listen to me. If you don't listen to me, I'll beat you up. Mark my words. Deluxe.
Deluxe office drummer who we were told to raid his stream.
That sounds a little aggressive.
Right. I don't want to. It's happening. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, every time I think of it as a negative way as well.
I think he gets rated enough.
I think we should stop rating things in general.
Delete that word.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I remember when there was a lot of blogs saying, "Oh, this band's gonna blow up." I don't want to blow up.
No.
I don't want to blow up and explode.
No, of course
You're
not.
wishing bad things on me.
I hate that. I absolutely hate that as well. But yeah, Office Drummer, Deluxe, Tiger State's debut U.S. show. They're a freaking 10-piece band
They're
from
not
Oslo.
gonna fit on the stage. That's how cool it's gonna be.
They're not. Well, we've had more than 10 people. We've had 10 people on the stage.
I think Runner was
11.
Runner was 9.
Was Runner 9?
Runner was 9.
Damn. All right, they're gonna break the record, folks. Be here Saturday to catch that out. If you can, be here Saturday, and then be at the Moroccan Friday to see my good friend Tom here, Tom Co, to play. Who's direct support for that? Did you figure it out?
My friend Sophia Bacino.
Cool.
Sophia
went to school with her, and she's a music student at UCLA, and she's been playing more and more gigs, and she has a cool band, and reached out to her. I'm super excited to have her play with me.
Cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
Awesome. Super excited for both of your sets. Yeah, dude, like, love the record. I'm gonna keep on saying that.
Thanks,
and
man.
excited to have your stuff more stuff from you come out.
Very soon.
Please follow them on Spotify, Instagram, all that stuff. I'm not sure if we have the handle
Yeah, I think it's
truly
all
there. Once again, I'm Jeff Bywater of Make Out Music. dressed up as a Fermi, and Tim.
He's not
That's Tim Chin dressed up as an asshole. So
I'm a nudist on strike. Okay.
But yeah,
cool.
Once again, thanks for everyone listening and watching.
Thank you guys.
Bye-bye.
Later.
So yeah, now we just did